Good Friday evening to you. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Welcome to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We'll talk a little bit of Browns. We'll talk some Major League Baseball draft and some local kids who are celebrating today. And Doug Lesmerises, columnist from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, will join us. We begin tonight with the Browns. Their new director of football operations, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, took a little bit of a different path to reach the NFL, but it was always a goal of his to be in the NFL. Adofo-Mensah was a commodities trader and then went to work for the San Francisco 49ers, where he kind of learned the ropes and saw a lot of similarities between what he was doing in the business world and what makes things tick in the NFL.
My whole life, and not just my professional life, my whole life I've been really passionate about decision making under uncertainty. And I think Wall Street, my commodities trading background is a reflection of that. I think my graduate school in economics is a reflection of that. I think playing basketball is a reflection of that. When I think what draws people to sports from an academic environment is that you get a chance to apply some of these academic principles to things that happen kind of subconsciously on the court or on the field. And so I would, in a sense, some people see that as very different, but I don't see it very different in my ability to kind of pull information to make a bet on the direction of the oil market versus pulling information to making a bet on the direction of an NFL player. I think those are similar processes. Obviously, they're different skill sets and different information sources. And I kind of came into San Francisco kind of as a tabula rasa, clean slate, and just learned from those guys and learned the methodologies that they use. But ultimately, you're making decisions under uncertainty, and there are certain things that carry over across those fields.
Was that transition something you always aspired to, or how did it come about?
Sure. I've been a football fan since I was 3. I grew up in an area that's similar to Cleveland, where people live and die on Sundays, and so this has always been a dream of mine. To be honest, you don't know how to break in. I would say that most people who probably in your positions as well, you just don't know how to get into the building. So when I was in graduate school, it was something I had my eyes on. I thought maybe I'd be a professor and sort of consult, but I really did want to be a part of the team actually working in the building. And ultimately the stars aligned, and I got the opportunity. But it was something that I've always had a passion and interest in. It's just whether or not I could kind of break down the walls to get there.
Just kind of curious, you're coming from a team that was just in a Super Bowl to a team that's been trying to turn things around for a couple of decades here. What, from your experience with the 49ers, do you think you can bring to the Browns that will really kind of maybe help them finally get over that hump?
Sure. Again, and these words become cliche, but, an appreciation of alignment in culture. I got asked in a lot of the interviews, what was the most impactful thing I did in San Francisco? And I would love to say it was, saying George Kittle was going to be the best tight end in the NFL. I didn't. Maybe the models had him a little better than everybody else, but that's not what it was. What was impactful, the most impactful is after our 2016 front office reboot, they had me study successful organizations in your sports and other companies. You really learn what it takes to make it. Look, this sport has tons of ups and downs every day. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be clean. And you got to have people in the building who aren't going to blink and kind of know what that looks like and having a shared vision. And all that stuff sounds good when you read it, but then living that experience over those last few years, 2017 wasn't easy. 2018 wasn't easy. And I saw John and Kyle never blink, and nobody else beneath them blinked. And so we always knew we were building towards something. And so seeing that up close, I just know that that's what it takes to win, and I'll never back down from that. And also I would say a sense of realism. It takes talent to win in this league. It takes great coaching. It takes great development. It takes a lot of great things, and seeing that up close and knowing that you need a kind of aggressive mindset to win on the margins in every facet of football operations. Again, seeing that up close is an invaluable experience that I'll never be able to kind of replicate. So I think that's what I'll bring to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that's the new Browns Director of Football Operations, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Let's welcome in Doug Lesmerises from cleveland.com, columnist for cleveland.com, as well as the Plain Dealer. And Doug, one of the things that jumped out to me is he said the 49ers had him study successful organizations. Again, it's kind of a common theme. The Browns are trying to figure out what successful organizations can do so they can put that framework in place.
Are the Niners not one of the best organizations the Browns should be studying right now? It's funny to me. It's like, remember when we all thought the Browns might make a leap from not very good to a Super Bowl contender? The 49ers stole their resume. The 49ers last year were what I think a lot of us thought the Browns were going to be. So I know there are some people who watch something like that and they just tune out and they're like, oh my gosh, like tabula rasa, is that a linebacker or a defensive end? What are you talking about? That guy's dropping Latin phrases in his football conversation. But here's the thing, and I know he has emphasized this. When you do this kind of thing, if you stay committed to it, over the long run is where you see it pay off, where you see analyzing successful organizations, having principles that you stick to, having long-term strategies. Guys like this, I think when they analyze things, they think, okay, if the rest of the league does something and they're correct 52% of the time, and we do something and we're correct 56% of the time, that's a huge edge for us, just like as an example. But it takes a while for that to pay off, right? So this is just sort of this long-term strategy. If the Browns ever stick to this long-term, I think they might find an edge here. And you find an edge because of guys like this, because of synthesizing information and taking scouting into consideration as well and bringing it all together. But if you don't stick to it, you're never – he talked about winning on the margin. You can't win on the margins in like 2 years, right? And that's maybe – in the end, maybe is the flaw with this. Maybe football isn't patient enough for this kind of thinking. But I've thought it back to Sashi Brown. If the Browns can do it long term, I think it can work for them. And if the 49ers are proof of it, great. Let's get more guys from the 49ers.
Do you like the idea that this is a guy that, or are you scared by the idea that this is a guy that was from the outside of the football community, was a commodities trader, and to hear him explain the decision-making about uncertainty, I get where that would carry over.
I think the more you get the gut out of football decision-making, I think the more you'll succeed in the long term. And that can be hard, I think, for football people, maybe old-school football people, to want to give up because they like their guts, man. And again, if your gut says, I like this player, and then you pick him and he's good, it reinforces it. But over 100 picks, over 10 years, is that the way to go about it? So would I want him to be the GM? Probably not right now. Do I want him advising Andrew Berry along with all the other people and that Andrew Berry can bring all that information together? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, there are still advantages to be found in this sport. And this is one of the ways where you can find it. And so little has worked for the Browns over the years. They're the exact kind of franchise to be thinking this way. And I know they're not the only one. But you absolutely want people like this in your building who think this way. And that's why I think a lot of people are so excited about Andrew Berry, because he wants this, he thinks like this, but he also played college football. He's been a scout. He has that, that more gut football instinct as well. And in the end, I don't want a decision maker who just does what he wants. I want the guy in Andrew Berry who synthesizes information. And this is some of the information that you want going into those decisions.
So basically, when we talk about this, it always seems to come back to ownership has to be more patient than a year or two. It doesn't matter what conversation we have. That kind of seems to be what has been missing.
And I think it's amplified by this thinking, by when you lean on this thing, right? Because, if they would have stuck with an analytics viewpoint since 2016 and they were in year 6 of this kind of thinking, right? Think where they might be. Maybe it wouldn't work, but you would at least have like a way of doing business. And I just think more than traditional scouting only. This is the kind of thing, that phrase, remember that phrase, winning on the margin. Winning on the margins is stealing half a game a year. Winning on the margins is making, one smarter pick a year. It doesn't mean you're going to come in and dominate one draft, pick 7 All-Pros in one draft. But over time, you line it up. But if you're not going to give it time, then just pick a football guy that you trust, right? And that's what my frustration was when they sort of gave up on this first time around. I'm glad they're back to it. I think Andrew Berry might be the right guy to lead it. But boy, I mean, more than ever. Now, the other thing is you can't allow like the analytics guys to hold you hostage and be like, well, it's a 12-year plan. Even if we stink, you get 12 years no matter what, right? Because that's not it either. I think some people thought that with, Sashi Brown first time around. It's like, oh, sure, sounds pretty good for you. You can't fire me. But I do think this has to be the long-term strategy. And again, if you've won, you don't have to try something a little different. Browns haven't won. They should try something different. But if you're going to try it, you got to stick with it at least for some period of time.
The NFL made it official, no mini camps. It'll be extended virtual off-season, which the Browns have said they're going to take advantage of, and then they go into training camp. Also some talk of cutting back the preseason to just 2 games. Do you see any negative to that? I mean, the 4th preseason game, nobody ever plays in. Or in the 3rd preseason game is like a dress rehearsal, so I don't see necessarily the negative of going to just 2 preseason games. Your thoughts on potentially the NFL doing that this year?
Is there a single pro preseason person in America who we have on the show right now who would be like, save the preseason at all costs? Who likes the preseason? With all this stuff, again, I'm going to use that same phrase, on the margins. Maybe people on the margins get hurt, right? Guys who are trying to make the practice squad, guys who in that 4th game are trying to prove they deserve to have a career in the NFL. And that matters. That certainly does matter. But you should be able to figure that out a little bit more in your practices. It just seems it's a money grab to make these ticket holders buy 2 extra games. So, a lot of this stuff for sports, what's going to be fascinating is what among the stuff that happens now will stick once we get back to normal. And if a 2-game preseason sticks, and that's where we are from now on, sounds good to me.
Last thing I'll ask you in this segment, we've mentioned winning on the margins. Isn't that what separates, a decent team from a good team from a playoff team, is being able to win on those margins, really small things. In the NFL, everybody has talent. It's really winning those minor differences. And
I think it's luck too, right? That's the hard thing. Again, an NFL season isn't 162 games long. It's 16 games long. So you can do all the winning on the margins you want, and then, a pass hits a guy in the helmet and bounces in the air, and it's an interception. All of a sudden, you lose. So I think it's a fascinating sport, right? And again, I love roster building. I love this kind of strategy. But, I don't know. It was Bill Belichick winning on the margins when they drafted Tom Brady in the 6th round, right? I mean, there's so much stuff that is just – it's a couple individual players can make such a difference, and acquiring those individual players is often as much luck as it is genius. So I think the margins will matter. It's like good golf clubs, right? I have terrible golf clubs, but if I'm going to go shoot 120, why would I need good golf clubs? I need to get down to shooting in the 80s before I spend money on golf clubs that might save me a shot or two. If I'm trying to shoot 126 instead of 128, I may as well use garage sale clubs. So the Browns, they have to start shooting in the low 80s, and then winning on the margins will make a difference, right? So you got to get the foundations established, luck into some stuff, be smart, and then winning on the margins might be the difference between 10 wins and 11 wins, and that might be the difference between a home playoff game or not, but it's not going to be what gets you over the top on its own.
Doug Lesmerises, we're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. You mentioned Tom Brady. Remember, the Browns drafted Spurgeon Wynn a few picks ahead of Brady in that round in the NFL draft. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. When we return, we'll talk about the NFL's most elusive running backs. More sports and less Levine, Weekend Winners Edition. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Presque Isle Downs and Casino has sports betting. Use one of our 50 state-of-the-art Bet America kiosks to place your bet and watch your favorite games on one of our many HD televisions or visit our sportsbook area. Only at Presque Isle Downs and Casino.
Do you like Ohio State football? Would you like to get information from me, Doug Lesmerises, about Ohio State football without having to look at my face? We have got the plan for you. Become an Ohio State text subscriber through cleveland.com. You send a text, 614-350-3315. What do you get? 2, 3, 4 texts right in your phone every day about Ohio State football. Inside information, polls, voting, all kinds of things. You can be on our podcast. We take text subscriber questions on our Buckeye Talk podcast every week. If you really want to be involved with Ohio State football, in season or out of season, become an Ohio State text subscriber from cleveland.com. Send a text to 614-350-3315. 14-day free trial. What do you have to lose? $3.99 a month after that. 614-350-3315. I'll see you in your phone.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had two choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We continue to talk Browns football. Pro Football Focus did a list of the most elusive running backs in the NFL. Now, Pro Football Focus is a analytics-driven site that a lot of people study. Nick Chubb was listed as the most elusive. I suppose a sledgehammer would make a running back elusive. When I think of Nick Chubb, when I think of Jacobs, Henry, some of the top guys there, I think more power backs with some speed. But again, if elusive is meaning tough to tackle, I could see where that would matter. You get into Kamara, Cook, Barkley, definitely elusive. But Nick Chubb of the Browns, number one. And again, speed-power combination makes him tough to bring down. We're going to bring back Doug Lesmerises, columnist from cleveland.com, as well as the pages of the Plain Dealer. And Doug, you know, we've made a big deal about the upgrade at tackles for Baker Mayfield. I think the guy that's really going to benefit from that as well is Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who is not elusive at all, elusiveness is a characteristic that I certainly respect. And as you said, they sort of explained in the article that it just means like hard to bring down. So running over people does count. But the thing, I think it's if I could have one quality in a running back, I think it would be it, that you're hard to bring down. And sometimes people can get caught up in, you know, breakaway speed and that kind of thing. It's like everyone's going to get hit in this game. How often do you have a hole that you just run through and nobody touches? But if you go down on the first hit, for Nick Chubb to be at the top of the league in yards after contact, if you could have an offensive line that prevents that first contact from coming as soon, Nick Chubb's going to get his, right? He's going to take care of his business. But if you can push it downfield a little bit before that defense gets his hands on him, I mean, it's how an offense works, because it's not about, you know, how many 60-yard runs do you have? It's that can you move the chains down after down? And when you have a back who doesn't go down on the first hit and turn 2 2-yard runs into 5-yard runs and 5-yard runs into 9-yard runs. That's how you move the ball in the run game, right? That's the best complement to the pass game that you can have. And so, Browns fans don't need any reinforcement to realize Nick Chubb is good, but this is why. This is why he's good, and this is the thing you want in your back, Browns fans who have it.
The other thing is the offense that Kevin Stefanski runs is tailored to running the football, and the style with the wide zone is something Nick Chubb had a lot of success with at Georgia. So it's again a matter of scheme fitting really the best offensive weapon that there is.
And it's like, Nick Chubb fit last year's offense too. Nick Chubb kind of fits almost anything. Give him the ball, and he fits a lot of stuff. But again, I mean, I don't know, Dave, are we talking about the Super Bowl in June again? Every time we talk about the offense, it's like everything fits everyone perfectly. Kevin Stefanski is a genius, and the Browns have the best offensive players in the league. But all of that is like at least partially true, which is why they are the kings of the offseason. But a lot of it makes sense. Now, and again, I will say, Nick Chubb fit anything. Nick Chubb is that in the back. Enjoy him, appreciate him. He's a difference maker. I think you would see it, right? I mean, this is the kind of guy who can win you playoff games. This is the kind of guy. I mean, you saw what Derrick Henry did with the Titans. Now my heart is racing. What Derrick Henry did in the playoffs to help push the Titans from a decent team that got in the playoffs, the AFC Championship game. That's a Nick Chubb kind of formula for the Browns, right? Except I think the Browns even have more weapons in the passing game than the Titans did. So you would love to see Nick Chubb get that kind of opportunity late.
The other thing is, though, Stefanski's offense was willing to run the ball significantly more. And there were games last year where you kind of were going, boy, Nick Chubb did really well. Why'd we go away from him? I mean, that's kind of what I'm getting at with this offense is predicated on being able to run the football and then play action off of it. That's got to be something Nick Chubb wants to hear, likes to hear, along with Kareem Hunt.
Agreed. I'm always, in the modern NFL age, I'm always going to hedge a bit on let's be a run-first offense, right? I mean, it's all degree, but, man, you got to throw to win. That's just, Chiefs can run it, but, man, Patrick Mahomes is pretty good. So that's what the game is. The game is you've got to throw it to run it, but if you can have such a threat in the run game and have play calling that is smart and that a defense doesn't know what's coming down to down and that they all work together. That's the main thing we all love to talk about with Kevin Stefanski, that all of this seems like it's going to work hand in hand. So that's the great part of it. But in the end, I don't need Nick Chubb getting 33 carries a game or something, even though I just mentioned Derrick Henry. I mean, you got Odell Beckham and Austin Hooper and Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield and a bunch of guys who can chuck it around. These guys got to throw it to move the ball. But, man, if that's your run game, if you fit it together the right way, you're hard to stop.
So we've talked about the way the offense looks on paper quite a bit. What's the concern? What is your one thing that you're worried about that might derail what looks to be this all-powerful offense that's going to score at will?
Nothing. Next question. Like, too much optimism? Again, the point of a lot of this is, I mean, honestly, when we were in this place a year ago, you want to go through the offense piece by piece. It's hard to argue, right? But it's about how it all fits together. It didn't fit together that well last year. But the offensive line, but piece by piece last year, nobody would have said, hey, Chris Hubbard, that's the way to go at right tackle. That's an elite right tackle. So fixing those tackles, I think, has a chance to let everything else come together. Because I think the tackles help Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb and Baker Mayfield and David Njoku maybe not be at their 100% most effective last year because you maybe didn't believe in that part of the line as much as you needed to. So that's why that investment in the tackles, that's why paying Jack Conklin makes sense, because it's not just about Jack Conklin's money. It's about how Jack Conklin is going to make Odell Beckham even more worth his money. So that is where I think the tackles and the greater faith in the line, and they've got to figure out right guard. So right guard's the biggest question mark. But those tackles will allow everything else to be stitched together more effectively, because skill position wise, just like last year, you can go through the Browns and rank them with any team in the league.
Last question I'll ask you before we have to take a break. We have another first-year head coach in Kevin Stefanski. The difference between what we've heard from Kevin Stefanski thus far and what we heard early on from Freddie Kitchens, very striking. Do you sense that as well, or are you saying, boy, you're reading way too much into this, Dave?
I like Freddie. I mean, it's like I like a guy to beat the chest. I was all for. I don't want everyone to have revisionist history on this. I thought the Browns needed to beat their chest. I thought the Browns, who had nothing on the field in the last 20 years to lean on, needed confidence. They needed a shot in the arm. So I was 100% on board. The Baker Mayfield, Freddie Kitchens led, we're the Browns, we're here, watch out, here we come. And so, it didn't work. It didn't work. Kevin Stefanski's not doing that. Kevin Stefanski's not talking the talk, he's walking. Whatever. I get it. But I don't want, right, you got to do it. All that matters is what happens on the field. But Kevin Stefanski doesn't win, people are going to be like, oh, no, I don't know if he has a dynamic personality to be a leader. He seemed like kind of just a regular kind of guy. But I'm never going to – I want the Cleveland Browns to be confident. Now, it's better confidence derived from on-field performance, but I like the confidence last year. So I get it. I agree with you. It is interesting to me. Kevin Stefanski seems like a smart guy, right? He's never done this. He really has not been totally in charge of an offense all that much. Freddie Kitchens had that half year calling plays for the Browns. I don't want to back off people who are excited about him, but man, people seem really all in on Kevin Stefanski for a guy who has not even coached practice. So I think it is a backlash to people just seeing an opposite approach to Freddie Kitchens and believing that Freddie bombed in most ways and just being totally all in on this guy. I'm not eager for it, but I'm very curious for what happens the first time Kevin Stefanski does something that doesn't work out 100%, because I don't know if I've heard anybody say anything other than this guy is awesome since he got here.
Fair enough. You got to remember, we love our coaches until they lose a game. That's how it works in the NFL. Doug Lesmerises, step aside, take a quick timeout. We'll take a look at Baker Mayfield, and can we figure out one of the reasons that the interceptions were up so high? More sports and less Levine. The Weekend Winners Edition will be right back. Stay with us.
Celebrate NatureStone's 30-year anniversary with a free NatureStone floor. During 2020, we will be giving away 30 free floors to 30 very lucky customers to say thank you for making NatureStone the best concrete flooring solution for garages, basements, and more. Call or visit naturestone.com today to register to win, and we'll send you a copy of our new buyer's guide absolutely free. There's no purchase necessary. Winners will be chosen monthly. With over 30 million square feet installed for more than 60,000 customers, it's easy to see why I always say it's not just a floor. Wow, it's NatureStone.
There are tastes we remember. Every smell brings the happiness of times gone by. Experience this every time you walk into Gallucci's Italian Foods. Whether you need lunch on the go, a catered party, or that perfect blend of wine, meats, and cheeses, Gallucci's has exactly what you're looking for. Straight from Mama's Kitchen for old world traditions or original experiences. From the tastes you remember to new flavors you'll never forget, Gallucci's is a tasty branch of your family tree.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. I'm Dave Bacon. We'll continue talking a little bit about the Browns. Doug Lesmerises, columnist for cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer, will rejoin us in just a minute. So we're going to take a look at quarterbacks and their check down rates the last 2 seasons, specifically on third downs. Again, this was from Pro Football Focus. And Josh Allen, this is a percentage based as far as the rankings go. We didn't show the percentage on this, but Josh Allen, the lowest check down rate, did it just once. Patrick Mahomes, third lowest rather. Ben Roethlisberger was in there, but he had such few attempts we didn't put him on it. Then Darnold, Baker Mayfield was 5th. Now the important thing to remember about Allen and Mahomes, both run quite a bit, so the check down not as critical. And you see Baker Mayfield with 7th. Keep in mind Mayfield threw a significant amount of interceptions, particularly last year. And the thought being, might have been forcing the ball some. Let's welcome back in Doug Lesmerises. And Doug, we've already mentioned, that line obviously factors into that, but you would think that would force him to throw to his check down even more often. I think, Baker Mayfield's so confident in his arm, sometimes threw the ball into areas where the windows were just too tight.
Do I have to be pro check down?
No, you do not. You do not.
I was looking, I have this PFF thing pulled up. There's like another 2-year list. It's like the guy who checks it down all the time was Blake Bortles.
Good point.
I'd be okay with chucking it 80 yards downfield on third down. Listen, I think a lot of these lists, you go through it, there's a couple different check down lists on that site. A lot of young quarterbacks not checking it down, right? So you learn. It seems like a very normal thing that young quarterbacks, especially ones that believe in themselves. You know who checked it down a lot? Eli Manning, right? I mean, it's like you're old and you're freaky. It ties back into Baker. I think it is and this probably isn't statistically accurate. All right, so it's not accurate at all. But right, it seems to me that like if you don't check it down, it's because you believe in yourself. I want a quarterback who believes in himself, that he thinks he can squeeze it into a non-existent window on 3rd and 7. So I think it comes with maturity with all of us, Dave. As we get older, we realize we don't have to do it all ourselves. And that in life, shouldn't all of us in life be looking for check down? So I just think I would chalk this up mostly to the older you get, the more quarterbacks are aware of this. But I also don't think it's exactly in Baker's nature. So Alex Van Pelt and Kevin Stefanski might be drumming this into his head this offseason to look for this at least a little more often.
Well, and the flip side of that is there are times where it's fine to go for it. I think you hit on it. You have to learn at what point in time do you want to do that, and at what point in the game do you want to check it down and live to play another set of downs. Punt the ball, put your defense on the field, and let's go get them again. And I think, again, that's the decision that you have to – I think you hit on it. That's Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt are going to have to say, these are when we want you to do this.
And I don't know that isn't specific. Some of those third down check downs, especially on third down, it's like, we checked it down on 3rd and 11 and got 6 yards. Congratulations. What is that? I mean, I get it. Live to fight another day, but he's not throwing picks every time he doesn't check it down. He threw too many picks last year. I get it. The receivers also had a lot of balls go through their hands. So I would rather have a quarterback that you have to encourage to check it down more often than have a quarterback who loves to check it down, and you're trying to tell him, listen, man, maybe a fewer 4-yard pass, right? Let's push it down the field a little bit. So this, again, it ties in. But the best of Baker Mayfield, I'm sure there are times last year where you could go back and look on the film and see him forcing the ball to somebody on 3rd and 8 and think, man, if he just would have swung it over there to Nick Chubb, I think Nick Chubb might have had room to get a first down. So that's another thing. You have a guy like Nick Chubb who can catch it and do some stuff with it. If we're in year 8 and he's not successful, then it's more of an issue. But I think there's a great balance. I think we can look at stats incorrectly sometimes with quarterbacks. Interceptions aren't always bad stats. Sacks aren't always bad stats. Not checking it down is not always a bad stat because it ties into guys who are willing to risk it to make a play. And you have to balance it with their big play percentages. And I think that's probably Baker didn't make as many big plays, didn't successfully make them last year. But I think when he's at his best, he might do all those things. Throw picks, not check it down, take sacks, but also make big plays down the field that sometimes win you games. All that balance.
Is that something you think is a strength? I mean, Baker Mayfield, the belief, and how do you turn that strength into something that's a strength for the team? That he's willing to go for it.
Yeah, I think it's a strength. I think at its best, it permeates the team, and I think it's a matter of pulling it back from 100 to 80. Right, that you can't do it 100% of the time. Let's pull it back 80% of the time and be smart about it. But again, Patrick Mahomes doesn't check it down. Now, Patrick Mahomes, his arm and his ability to make throws on the move and to run when he needs to, tremendous. So if I was Patrick Mahomes, I'd never check it down. I believe there's proof. It's not just belief. There's proof with Patrick Mahomes. But that's who you've got. It's not the only way to win at quarterback, but that's who this guy is. That's the guy that you pick. That's why we all compare him, rightly or wrongly, to Brett Favre. You know, this is gunslinger equation when you're talking about check down. So I'm okay. I want the big play percentage, and that's where I want to see that come along. I want to see them be dangerous, and I just think that is their best hope down the line. And so I hope, and I'm still anticipating that this is the kind of thing, and this is fun. You see a quarterback grow. I hope Cleveland Browns fans get to see Baker Mayfield learn and grow and change a little bit, but stay true to himself over the next 10, 12 years. And you get to think back, oh, when he was like this, then he went like this. That is a great, fun, interesting thing for a fan base to do, to watch that quarterback for his whole career win and grow at the same time. And I'd love to have a check-down conversation in 2027 about Baker Mayfield and see where he is. I hope he's here, and I hope you and I are both here to do it.
Well, we'll mark that on the calendar right now. Last thing on the Browns before I let you go. What's the big concern about this group? You know, a lot is expected from the fan base. What's the major concern you have that could derail them from the playoffs?
You and your concerns, Dave. I don't know, long snapping? There are none.
12 wins again? Can I put you down for 12 wins again?
I don't know if I'm going to do this show anymore, Dave. You're back in my face. Here's the thing, right? You just want to see it make sense. You want to see it be connected. I want to see alignment in action. They're talking about it a lot this offseason, and I'm here for it, baby. I'm here for it. From Jimmy Haslam to Paul DePodesta to Andrew Berry to everybody else in the front office, to Kevin Stefanski, to Joe Woods, to Alex Van Pelt, to Baker Mayfield, to Myles Garrett. I am here for alignment. Let's see it happen. Let's see everything make sense. Because the thing that has changed, and boy, isn't it a much more interesting conversation. Every Browns fan knows that there is a talent base there. We're not trying to talk ourselves into like, oh yeah, maybe this receiver can have like 300 receiving yards. There are guys, they haven't won. Not many guys here have won in the NFL. But there are guys in this roster who have put up numbers, who have individually played at a high level. Not a lot of them know how to win. And so, man, but again, let's go back to the 49ers, which is where we started on this show. The 49ers had a plan. They stunk for like 5 or 6 years. They went from Jim Harbaugh to Jim Tomsula. Then Kyle Shanahan gets in there. It doesn't happen overnight. Remember, Nick Bosa, the Niners had the second pick in the draft. They take Nick Bosa. They go to the Super Bowl with a rookie defensive end making an impact. If you're smart and the talent is there, and you put a structure in place that maximizes the talent, keep thinking about the 49ers, because it absolutely can happen. And you can't tell me that the 49ers talent base is that much different than the Browns talent base. And we saw it happen last year, and that's what's out there for the Browns on their upside. I'm not going to predict it, but the offensive line is fit, and I'm not worried about linebacker. So everything else, it's all there.
Doug, I teed it up for you. You could have said, Dave, you predicted 10 or 11 wins. So yeah, I was right there with you.
I have a list. I'm taking everybody down with me. So yeah, you're on the list.
All right, Doug Lesmerises, as always, we appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Doug. Have a good one.
Thanks.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit and turn our attention to the Major League Baseball draft that has just wrapped up. Indians made picks. 3 local guys also had their dream come true. We'll talk about that when more sports and less Levine. The Weekend Winners edition continues. Stay with us.
As a kid growing up, my dream was to go to college, play baseball, and get a degree. Coming out of high school, I had 2 choices. I was accepted into a 4-year university, but I decided to come to Tri-C after receiving a scholarship. I got my associate's degree at Tri-C. They transferred all my credits straight into Baldwin-Wallace, so I started at Baldwin-Wallace University as a junior. My name is Tyler Leonard, and I earned my first degree at Tri-C.
Well, hello everyone. Let me tell you a little bit about Browns Football Insider. For only $3.99 a month, you can get text sent right to your phone each day from me, Dan Lobby, Scott Pasco, and Ellis Williams. In addition to that, you'll receive a Football Insider newsletter every day with special things from us, things that you won't see anywhere else on the site. You'll get breaking news, analysis, features, film breakdown, and things like that. Texting us directly gives you a great chance to cut through the clutter of Facebook, Twitter, other social media, and avoid the trolls. Also, it's the only way to get your questions on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. So why should you sign up? Try a 14-day free trial. You can cancel at any time. All it takes is one text, but you won't want to cancel. We have hundreds of subscribers join us over the last year. They love it and have stayed with us. We're seeing the Football Insider community grow every week. And it's only $3.99 a month, which is less than 14 cents a day. What I like most about Football Insider is the opportunity to connect with you one-on-one and really communicate with you. So how can you become a Football Insider? You can click on cleveland.com/Browns, the blue banner at the top of the page. Or easier yet, text me at 216-208-3965. Again, that's 216-208-3965.
It takes attention to detail. With your local Bryant dealer, you're getting more than just a technician. You're getting someone who pays attention to your needs and the little things that make a big difference. It takes a dealer you can rely on. And to keep your family warm this winter,
here, let me show you how this works.
It takes Bryant.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
And to keep your family comfortable, it takes Smiley One Heating and Cooling. Find them at smiley1.com.
Welcome back to More Sports and Less Levine, the Weekend Winners edition. I'm Dave Bacon. MLB draft a little shortened, just 5 rounds. Let's take a look at who the Indians picked. Selected a high school shortstop, Carson Tucker. First overall, some college pitchers, another high school shortstop as well. Don't make too much of the shortstops. Those guys tend to be some of the better athletes, and they're not necessarily going to stick as shortstops. Indians also seem to draft a lot of high school shortstops. Some local guys celebrating today as well. Dylan Dingler from Ohio State and Jackson High. First pick in the 2nd round of the Tigers. Kyle Nicholas, his teammate at Jackson, went to Ball State, was selected by the Marlins between the 2nd and 3rd rounds. And in the 4th round from St. Edward's High School, Mac Wainwright, selected the prep guy. And we are now joined by Mackenzie Wainwright. Mac, first of all, congratulations going to the Cincinnati Reds. Just some reactions staying close to home and achieving what was a dream in being drafted in the Major League Baseball draft.
First off, thank you. I appreciate it. Staying close to home was kind of a thing for me. I wanted to do it so my parents could come see me play without having to worry about flying. I actually was pretty interested in the Indians as well, but I'm glad I'm still in Ohio so they can drive down 4 hours and come see me. Everybody's faces were lit up. Nobody had any words really. It was just kind of like we were all in shock that it happened so fast. We went from one moment watching TV and playing games with my friends to the next moment being on the phone and pretty much being told I'm going to get drafted. So that was pretty fun.
How tough was it? You didn't get to play your high school season this year. I know you didn't get to play much of a high school season last year. You were banged up. How tough was it not being able to play at all in the spring?
It was tough for me. I actually thought it was going to hurt me more than it was going to help me. Just thinking about all the things that played out. I was hurt. Not everybody got to see me play, and so I was like, I didn't know what was going to happen. There were a lot of teams that were questioning about me because they haven't seen enough of me, and I was like, I just hope for the best, and I knew God had me, and so I just put it in His hands and said, go ahead and take me where you want to take me, and so I'm glad to be here.
Now, you know, the alternative wasn't bad either. You had a scholarship to Ohio State, so you knew you were going to be playing baseball, but the ultimate goal had to be Major League Baseball. Has it sunk in yet? I know it's less than 24 hours after. You know, you had the ability to be a Major League player.
It hasn't necessarily sunk in yet, but I'm sure it will in the next couple of days. I'm still getting a lot of phone calls from family and friends and getting congratulated, and so it's just been an amazing couple of days so far. No complaints at all. I'm just enjoying it and taking it all in. It's a once in a lifetime thing.
I know you played in some wood bat showcases, and how much did that help? How comfortable are you with that? And tell me some of the things that you learned in doing that.
So I've been doing it since I was 14. So I had to get comfortable very soon. I was playing against higher competition, and as well as that, it was also harder for me to get as many hits because I wasn't using metal bat, so I couldn't cheat. And so I had to learn very quickly that it's going to take a grind, and sometimes you have to grind it out. And so for me, I adjusted pretty well. I think now I'm way more comfortable with a wood bat than I am with a metal bat. I actually prefer to use wood bat. So now that I know I don't have to pick up another metal bat, I'm pretty happy about that.
You also did really well in a showcase type thing in February. How much did that help? And what did you see from the reports that I have seen? You showed a lot of power. Is that something that just seems to keep going? The other thing I guess I need to point out, you're only 17, so you're still kind of growing and maturing physically as well.
Yes, that helped a lot. One, because I haven't played in a year, so a lot of people still didn't get to see me. And two, I think it boosted my confidence just for myself and for my family, and not kept me down anymore. I felt like I was kind of like I was down and I didn't know what to do. I was constantly talking to my dad, and it was an issue because I felt like there was so much that I could have did more before I got hurt, and it was just like I can't control me being hurt, and so I was just hoping for the best. I think body-wise, as me being a 17-year-old and still growing, I think it just keeps increasing with my power because the more I get bigger, the more I work out, it ends up just shooting up, and I was actually surprised to see it because it went from being kind of average to above average, and I was pretty happy to see that jump.
Completely healthy right now? I know you were banged up.
Yes.
Before. Okay. And then the other thing, what have the Reds told you when they talked to you last night and let you know that you were their pick? What did they tell you?
Pretty much, they told me just be ready to hear your name called. And right after they called my name, about 10 minutes later, I got a phone call, and they were just congratulating me and talking to me about how they told me that it would be nice to have me on the team. And it felt good to hear that because now I know I'm a part of a family and brotherhood.
Were you concerned at all when the draft got shortened so much? I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, man, that would be tough being a guy that's in this draft. It's just 5 rounds now, and you know the back end of that is kind of iffy. Were you concerned that that might delay the dream when you found out it was just five rounds?
No, I wouldn't necessarily say I was concerned. I was kind of consistently talking to my advisor, and it felt like we had good connection, and he was getting a lot more information than what I thought I was going to get. And so he kind of kept me head looking forward and not looking back, and said pretty much it is what it is. I'm going to have to see what happens. Nobody knows anything for sure. There's a lot of guys I talked to over that process, and I was on a lot of teams' boards. So I was in play for a lot of people, and I'm glad I actually got picked. A lot of people would have doubted me getting picked because I didn't play for a year and I was hurt. So I'm pretty glad I proved it to myself and my family that I can do it.
Does that make it a little extra special too that the Reds saw that in you and believed in you? Does that give you a little extra to want to prove that the Reds were right in doing that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm always going to play with a chip on my shoulder. And so for them to take me and say, we trust you and we're going to put our money into you and invest in you, that means the world to me, because I'm always going to play like I'm the best out there. And I'm not going to ever slow down. I'm just going to work my butt off all the time.
Mac Wainwright, congratulations. Really happy for you. Stay in touch. We appreciate it. We'll look forward to following you throughout the Reds organization.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Appreciate it, sir. Mac Wainwright is the pick from the Cincinnati Reds from St. Edwards High. 4th round pick. Congratulations to Mac Wainwright and his family. Well, that'll do it for this edition of More Sports and Les Levine, the Weekend Winners Edition. Les will be back in the chair Monday, and we will see you again next Friday from 6 to 7 right here on cleveland.com. Stay safe, everyone, and have a great weekend.